Why do we do analysis? Or what is the result of each analysis? You might say insights or answers to some questions. Yet in any case, it is information. Mostly lists with data like 10 best or worst performing products or all customers who buy product A but not product B. But unless I'm working alone in my company, what is the value of this information if I don't share it with others? So analysis is the dynamic process to get there, but information is the structured result required to process the data with others. Because not everyone is a data analyst. Well, did you know that QlikView had an internal static report designer on board? Not for the automated reports, but for the on-the-fly reports. Yes, and it could even handle tables and pivot tables with multiple pages. But unfortunately, it didn't make it to Qlik Sense. So we developed ancoreShare, a standalone Qlik Sense extension and a rebuild of the QlikView report designer directly within Qlik Sense, with a simple drag-and-drop user interface, supporting any kind of charts, tables and pivot tables, manual and auto resize and placement of elements. A live draft preview makes it easy to design your report. Dozens of formatting and customization options. And with the preview window, you always have an overview of all your report elements. Create exports as PDF, PowerPoint, Excel, or images as file or via clipboard. And we've added a bunch of awesome gadgets that you will love. Another legacy feature of QlikView was this great action button, where you could write any kind of script macros with full access to the whole Qlik API. Unfortunately, this also didn't make it to Qlik Sense. And we developed ancoreScript, and now you have full access to all the great Qlik APIs again, but this time directly within Qlik Sense. And we added a user interface API too, just to make sure you can build great looking applications. Like this select by measure sample, where you can select in a range of aggregated measures and much more. And all you see is just a macro script that you can write by yourself in minutes. Showing drop-down menus with dimension or measure values, only a few lines of script. Adding a on-the-fly chart with selection features, just another couple of simple JSON lines. And the best, ancoreScript comes with ancoreShare for free. My name is Christian. I'm the head of development at ancoreSoft, with more than 20 years of experience in the Qlik cosmos. And in the next minutes, I'm going to show you how everyone in a company can benefit from the knowledge and insights of others. Before we can start, we need to install ancoreShare extension. Head over to your QMC, import, select file, select extension bundle, open and import. And since ancoreShare extension is a full standalone application, it does not need any additional software. Import has been done, switch over and reload. And there we go. Let's start with a simple report. Drag and drop ancoreShare extension on the screen, and on the right side we can add a new element. And before we go further, I'm going to activate the preview window and switch over to live draft and reposition the window a little bit here so we see all the changes we do right now. And we can select between object, text and line elements. We go with object, select Qlik object, and we switch over from KPI to sales analysis because I want to add the pivot table here. And you see by default the width of this table is exactly the width as it is on your Qlik dashboard. But I want to change that with full width, So I switch over the presetting of the size to percentage of page size by 100. We don't care for the height, because the height of the table will be the height of the content. Apply. And since we have activated the live draft, we see the first 10 lines of the content here on the screen. Let me change a little bit the look and feel of this table. I'm going to zoom in. First, we change the font size. So let's say 12. And we're going to change the colors. I'll change the header color to greenish and the font to white. Something like that. That looks good. And we're going to do the same for the total. Also for the color and the font color. Very good. Size it up a little bit. Okay. And yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's add another one, another table. We can copy and paste the element here. So we will have the table twice, but I want to have a different table in the for the lower one. So I change the object to this on the right side. Apply. And now we have two tables here on the preview. First one, the product group, and the second one, the customer list. Let's switch from live draft, which shows us only 10 rows, to preview. Now we see the first one ends up here because there's not enough space. So we have a second, 15 pages in total. On the second page, it repeats the first one, the column headers, and then it starts with the second table. Very good. Okay. And as you can see, the first 3 dimensions are expanded and the other ones are collapsed. You know why? That is because, let me switch over, done editing, to the sales analysis sheet, and you see it reflects automatically the collapse state of the dimensions here. So if I'm going to reduce the produce and refresh the screen, the same will happen here on my preview window. Produce is collapsed, daily and frozen is expanded. Okay, and by the way, my report is already done, so I can use this report and create a PDF, and the PDF shows in high definition. And what if the user wants to have these tables as Excel exports? So we open the pivot table settings, the first one, switch over to data export, enable data export, and we call it export. You can choose between Excel and CSV delimited. And we do the same for the second pivot table. Enable data export, call it export. And since we have chosen the same name, it will be all in one single Excel file. As you see, we can also set the worksheet title. If we don't do that, the worksheet titles will be the ID of the Qlik object. And when I'm going to refresh the preview now, it will be export as PDF and as Excel. So we can switch over here to data exports only, export, and we have our single Excel. And with 2 worksheets. Let's add another element, a text element, and we put that on the first place so we can use it as header element. Call it sales report in the caption, center it, change the font size to 25. Yes, to bold, and the fill color, yeah, why not? Again, and in white, the font color. Very good. But I want to have these not in the body, but in the header. So it gets repeated every time we see it on when we have new pages. So it will be on the first page, second page, third page, and so on. Okay. Now let's add a chart. Also in the first place here, select object, and we're going to use, yes, very good, the by product subgroup. We keep the size, and on the right side of this we add another element. So we put it below the pie chart, and we're going to select, and we use the margin over time, but in that case we're going to choose the anchoring on the right side of the preceder, so that this object will be here on the side, and we can align it on the right side. So very good. Okay, let's switch back to preview to see the result. Very nice. So our report is done. Just change the name to sales report. Maybe change the color to orange. Resize it. And done editing. And next time, the next user is coming, selecting maybe some states and executing the report. You see, it will use now the full Qlik Sense printing engine to get all the Qlik images in high quality, in high DPI, and create my report PDF. But what if we need automation? Because ancoreShare extension needs someone who triggers the button. For automation, we need the big brother of ancoreShare extension, the ancoreShare server, a modern single-page, high-speed web application, full with all the functions you need in an enterprise environment, with automation requirements like jobs, schedulers, and much more. Let me show you a sneak peek. Let's start at the beginning. Now, when we look at the installation of NPrinting, Qlik NPrinting server must be installed first. Qlik NPrinting scheduler service.
1 eternity later.
But luckily, in the case of ancoreShare, the installation is pretty straightforward. Extract the zip file installation. Double-click the application folder. Right mouse click on the application, run, and there we go. Installed, up and running. Setting up our first source. I'm going to connect to my local Qlik Sense desktop, but it could be any kind of Qlik source, like Sense server, on-premise. Clicking on the consumer sales in that case. Give the source a name. Save it. And on save, it does always a validation of the source, if everything is fine. And we can start to load the metadata. And while it is loading, I'm going to copy and paste a license for this server. And we can start with our first report. Design report, create a new one. Consumer sales. Going to select the consumer source we just created. And here is our report designer. And our canvas is empty. The size is A4 in portrait. We can change that anytime by landscape or by any different layouting, but we leave it for now with this header. And you see in the meantime the metadata has been updated. So I'm going to close and reopen the design so that we can use this source data, like drag and drop the object here, and we have full access to all the Qlik objects in our system. Let's start with the KPI. The KPI here, and maybe a second one on the right side. You see all these little helpers here. And maybe below our table. Very good. Now we're taking a pivot table. We don't have to size it up because it's only with the width which is important. The height will be defined by the content. So let's add a header. Says info report. Center that guy. And let's see. When we click on the PDF, it will create a PDF export. When we click on HTML, it will create an HTML export, and so on. You see we have a single design interface, and as soon as it's done, we can just click here and we have our first report with a table, multiple pages. Yeah, very nice. So that is the first impression of how to install ancoreShare server on a complete clean machine.
And now, with all the power to share information from Qlik, everyone can benefit from the knowledge and analytical skills of the others. Curious? Head over to ancoreSoft.com and get your free copy of ancoreShare today. Thanks for watching and see you soon.